So, my personal opinion, since Endgame, I feel like the MCU hasn't 100% found its footing, its rhythm, like you did, pre-Endgame. And now, finally, I think we found our footing with Shang Chi Legend of the Ten Rings. So, let's go. Shang Chi Legend of the Ten Rings stars Simu Liu, Awkwafina, Tony Chai Wai Ling, Michelle Yeoh, and is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. What's up, guys? I saw this movie a few days ago at a premiere in Orlando. It was the day after like the world premiere, I guess, or the LA premiere. And now I can finally sit down and give you my full non-spoiler thoughts on Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings. And funny enough, I always want to say Shang-Chi Enter the Fist, but that's Kung Pao Enter the Fist, which is freaking hilarious if you have not seen Kung Pao Enter the Fist. So go watch that after this movie. Oh my God. But anyway, let's give you a quick plot synopsis first. Simu Liu plays Shang-Chi. In the present day, he's living in San Diego. He's got this friend, Katie, played by Awkwafina. Oh my God, we're gonna talk about Katie, okay? Wow, she is awesome in this. Eventually, nobody knows that Shang-Chi is like, I guess you could call him the chosen one, because his father was this guy who's like, thousands of years old. He has the power of the Ten Rings, and he left the Ten Rings because he fell in love, right? And some things happen. He ends up going back to the Ten Rings, and he becomes a serious problem. And so, who better than his son to try to confront that issue, which raises some really interesting stuff to delve into, because when it's the father and the son, then there's that emotional connection, and of course that definitely plays into this later in the movie, and it works very well. Now, first and foremost, guys, I am not a comic reader, so you're going to get a non-comic reader's perspective on this movie. I really knew nothing about the Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings. I've heard of the Ten Rings because of the first Iron Man, and that's one thing that this movie does very well too, is it bleeds a little bit into previous Marvel movies. I think that's what all Marvel movies do. They always remind you, just so you know, we're dealing with the MCU, okay? So anything from the past can come in and connect to this movie, and boy, does that happen in this movie. I'm not gonna tell you how much, but it was pretty cool. And I'll even say that kind of dips its big toe into the cons a little bit for me. We'll get into that. But I was mildly interested in this because I'm a big fan of like Kung Fu movies. I'm a big fan of The Raid. The Raid might not be what you call a Kung Fu movie, okay? It's a hand-to-hand combat movie, all right? But The Raid is freaking amazing. And I was wondering, are they really going to go all out and have, that type of fight choreography? Well, Simu Liu is the real deal. Like, this guy is a complete freaking badass. There are sequences in this movie, we're already digging into the pros, by the way, that are jaw-dropping. Specifically one involving a bus scene. And it made me think, what if you combine like speed, like the intensity of speed, with like crazy whacked out martial arts action, And there's 3 different types of fighting choreography in Hollywood that I've noticed. Probably more, but really 3. The first is what I call let's cut after every move, and I just watched this movie, The Protege, which was god awful. And that's a big reason why. It's because the fight scenes were chopped together and pieced together, and I could not buy any of it, and it felt kind of slow because of the fact. Then you have what I like to call the Resident Evil fight scene, where the camera is literally in their armpits and it can't be still because there's no way these people actually know what they're doing. Or maybe they do have good fight choreography, but it just doesn't pan out whatsoever. And so they have to kind of piece it together in a weird way. And so they take the camera and they move it all around them. And like I said, they put it in their armpits and all this weird stuff. And it drives me crazy, gives me a headache. Then there's the third part, where the actors and the choreographers all know what the hell they're doing, and they present a show. It's planned, everything's choreographed still, but they don't have to make that many cuts. Of course, there's cuts in the bus scene, but the cuts are to move the action along, to wow the audience. And boy, was I completely floored by just this sequence. This might be one of the best action sequences of the year, honestly. That bus scene. If you're looking for like hand-to-hand combat type scenes, And there's plenty more action in this movie too, okay? But you still have to have great characters, right? Fortunately, Shang-Chi has awesome characters. The chemistry between Shang-Chi and Katie in this movie is undeniable. It's so fun. Katie might be one of the most infectious characters of the year. She really is so damn fun. She's quirky as hell. She has a lot of silly quips and one-liners, and she's witty. You know, all this stuff in this like perfect little package of Katie, and she's amazing. And boy, does Marvel like her, because we all know Marvel, they love to inject comedy in their movies. This movie is no exception. There is tons of comedy, and I'd say about 75% of it works very, very well. There's a section in the middle, if we jump over into the cons, that it does kind of get bogged down a little bit because of a certain character that's introduced. And it's an important character to get you from B to C, but I was kind of annoyed, and that's all I'm gonna say. I was gonna say something else, but I don't wanna spoil anything. Maybe I'll do a spoiler review, or maybe just talk about it on a live stream in the future. But once you watch the movie, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about. And really just the Marvel humor in general. I think it's really been a double-edged sword for Marvel. Yes, it's part of their formula, and they never want to break from that formula because they're gonna make X amount of dollars with every movie. And, you know, it's just after every movie, you know, that's a Marvel movie. Same thing with DC. You know, they're dark and edgy, and, you know, you're watching a DC movie. And it's to please their core audience. And of course, there's gonna be people that do get annoyed by some of the overbearing humor. But overall, at the end of the day, for the most part, it works. Not saying I love every Marvel movie. I love this movie, but there are quite a few movies in there that don't have all the great stuff that Shang-Chi has. And so you're just left with that comedy that kind of falls flat. Luckily, this movie is not the case. Now, the emotion in this movie is very strong. Wenwu, his father, is a great villain. I think sympathetic villains are the best. And I was definitely drawing comparisons to like Darth Vader and Anakin. Just the similarities were kind of striking, actually. The son trying to reach the father and bring him back. And I love that stuff. There's almost some like tear-jerking moments in this movie. And big time spectacle at the end. You know, just they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you with this final battle sequence, and it's beautiful to look at. I remember I was watching this next to my wife, and by the way, it was us and maybe one or two other people in the whole theater, and this theater was gorgeous with the reclining seats, nicest theater I've ever been in. But my wife looked over at me, she was like, that's the most beautiful and like insane thing I've ever seen, you know, about the final battle sequence. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. It's jaw-dropping. So I've struggled with my rating on this. I'm gonna go with a high, like super high purchase worthy. Almost a Trapped on an Island. Like I said, the fight scenes, probably some of the best of the year. Very heartwarming, hilarious scenes with Katie. She's a crucial comic relief in this movie, and she's just such a likable character. So it's just that middle section that kind of pulls it away from a Trapped on an Island, but I'm definitely giving it a high purchase worthy, and it's probably in my top 10 Marvel MCU movies for sure. Maybe top 5, maybe top 5. It's that good, okay? So anyway, have you seen Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings? Let me know down in the comments. What are your thoughts? Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on all my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Big thanks to Trina, who just bought me a coffee. I literally just checked it before this review. Thank you, Trina. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.